Hello and welcome. In an obscene display of extreme judicial malfeasance, former Australian SAS lawyer David McBride has been jailed for 5 years and 8 months for leaking classified documents exposing war crimes committed by Australian Special Forces in Afghanistan. Just as with the inhumane persecution, torture and unlawful confinement of Julian Assange, another truth-telling whistleblower reporting war crimes is unjustly punished instead of the assassins committing the murders. Moreover, this appalling miscarriage of justice scurrilously protects the Freemasonic officers and military administrators sanctioning the criminal action. This villainous commanding echelon orchestrated a blanket cover-up of war crimes while calculatingly perverting the course of justice. This is the most disgraceful example of institutionalised corruption crippling Australia's pedophile-ridden justice system to the degree of rendering it demonstrably unfit for purpose. Australia is rightly denounced as the world's most evil fascist regime, a title fully justified by the cruel and unlawful persecution of Dan Duggan. Such blatant injustice has garnered significant public attention and reignited debates surrounding the absence of whistleblower protections, augmented by the manipulative obfuscation of war crimes allegations. McBride is the first person in Australian history to be jailed for war crimes, not for committing any, but for dutifully reporting capital crimes in concordance with the international law of the Nuremberg Code. Principle 4 of the Nuremberg Ethics, adopted by the International Law Commission in 1950, states, "The fact that a person acted pursuant to an order of his government or of a superior does not relieve him from the responsibility under international law, provided a moral choice was in fact possible to him." This principle established that following superior orders is not an absolute defence for committing war crimes or crimes against humanity. The Nuremberg trials rejected the superior orders defence used by Nazi officials, ruling that individuals have a moral obligation to disobey distinctly illegal orders. Nuremberg principles and judgments clarified that following illegal orders from superiors does not absolve individuals of criminal responsibility under international law if they had a moral choice to disobey. The same overarching principle applies to senior officers and government officials overseeing and covering up war crimes, including mass murder. This institutionalised corruption ensured David McBride's wrongful jailing instead of the seditious lowlifes of the military hierarchy responsible. In 2017, the treasonous ABC published a heavily doctored series of reports known as the Afghan Files, which exposed widespread misconduct and potential war crimes by Australian troops in Afghanistan. These routinely sanitised reports were based on classified documents provided by McBride, who initially sought to use official channels to report the alleged crimes, but was belligerently obstructed by the deeply entrenched machinations of deflection and cover-up. McBride was initially charged with 5 offences, including the unauthorised acquisition and dissemination of Commonwealth information. Given his military background and oath of office, he rightly argued that his actions were entirely justified by a duty to act in the public interest. However, the corrupt court unconscionably ruled against the admissibility of McBride's arguments and the documents he sought to rely on. Only an irredeemably crooked justice system would deny the admission of exculpatory evidence essential to the defence. Consequently, McBride was aggressively and unfairly corralled into pleading guilty to 3 charges in November 2023. Justice, or should that read just arse, David Mossop of the ACT Supreme Court unforgivably upheld the government's scurrilous claim that the documents could threaten the security and defence of Australia if made public. Before sentencing, McBride expressed confidence in his actions, stating, "I stand tall and I believe I did my duty, and I don't see it as a defeat. I see it as a beginning of a better Australia." His wife, Sarah, voiced her support and pride in her husband. Internationally, human rights advocates emphasised the importance of protecting whistleblowers and called for reforms to federal whistleblowing laws and the establishment of a whistleblower protection authority. McBride's case has reignited debates surrounding the handling of war crimes allegations against Australian troops in Afghanistan. These unprosecuted war crimes fester as a cancerous lesion on the nation's solid identity and international standing. A 4-year investigation by the Inspector General of the Australian Defence Force, completed in 2020, uncovered credible information of 39 murders of civilians and prisoners by 25 members of the Australian Special Forces. While only a few individuals have been charged due to that inquiry, McBride's unprecedented prosecution and jailing are seen as an overtly menacing threat to potential whistleblowers, while providing mafia-like protection for the cowardly criminals hiding within this rotten-to-the-core judicial system. The government's unforgivable stance in nullifying McBride's legal defence list is fiercely criticised as repudiating the Nuremberg Principle, which, as already clarified, established an unequivocal duty to not only disobey unlawful orders, but report criminal consequences resulting from them. I doubt there's any secret documentation that could damage Australia's reputation as much as this vindictive kangaroo court malfeasance has. Be assured this heinous travesty of the judicial process is far from over. The case has also highlighted growing tension between fictional national security concerns and the public's right to know, with the government disingenuously arguing that the disclosure of certain documents could damage Australia's international intelligence relationships. Pretty much the same feeble and entirely unacceptable excuse for concealing the list of named pedophiles in government and the judiciary. In conclusion, David McBride's trial and sentencing have reignited whistleblower protection debates everywhere. It also spotlights the objectionable mishandling of war crimes allegations while using the pathetically threadbare pretext of national security to reinforce worsening fascism in Australia. It's way past time the Australian community abolished its vile kakistocracy of crime gang government and satanic judiciary. I had the honour of meeting David McBride at a private screening of his documentary in Perth. I can say with full confidence that this courageous Australian hero has more dignity, integrity, and moral standing in his bowel movements than this vile collective of military and judicial traitors who contrived this unforgivable miscarriage of justice. An outraged public worldwide will ensure these hateful villains won't get away with it. Thank you for watching.